Hi everyone, welcome back to Bethlahem Matriculation Higher Secondary School online class. My name is Binila. I am going to handle this section for grade 11 English. In today's class, we are going to learn about verbs. What do you mean by verbs? Verbs, we have two types of verbs. One is main verb and another one is auxiliary verb. So the main verb denotes the type of action, while the auxiliary verb, what it will do? It will shows the time of action. Okay, you have to know the difference between main verb and auxiliary verb. Main verb, it denotes the type of action, what you are doing, that actions it will type. It shows that it is a main verb, and when it happened, wanted to tell it is in a present tense or past tense, it shows the time of action will be called as an auxiliary verb, right? So auxiliary verb we can say as a helping verb also. Let me give you two example sentence. First one, he will help me. Second sentence, they are running the show. See here, this two sentence you can see will, help or running is a verbs, right? Okay. So what is main verb here? Help in the first sentence and running in the second sentence. So it denotes the type of action, what they are doing. So we can conclude that as a main verb. And in auxiliary verbs, will and second sentence are. It denotes the time of action. So we can say this is an auxiliary verb. So what I told, auxiliary verb means helping verb. They are usually used with the main verbs to show tense, etc. Right? And to form the questions and negatives also it is used. Okay. So in auxiliary verbs, there are 24 auxiliaries are there. They are divided into three. Okay. Primary auxiliaries, modal auxiliaries and semi-modal auxiliaries, or we can call that semi-modal auxiliaries as a quasi-modal also. Okay, what are there in the primary auxiliaries are 11 numbers are there in the primary auxiliaries. What are they? Am, is, are, was, were, have, has, had, do, does, did. Okay, what is there in the modal auxiliaries? We have 9 modal auxiliary verbs. Shall, should, will, would, can, could, may, might, must. What is quasi or semi-modals? We have 4 quasi or semi-modals. Ought to, used to, need, dare. Okay, all these 24 auxiliaries are called as anomalous finites. Okay. This auxiliary verbs always comes with the main verbs only, right? So auxiliary verbs does not have separate meaning, only the main verb have the meaning. For example, he is eating a mango. So in this sentence, is an auxiliary verb and it does not have meaning, and eating is the verb which gives meaning, correct? Okay. So the auxiliary verb denotes present tense, right? One more example. She did not sleep last night. So here, did is an auxiliary verb and it denotes past tense, right? Now let us move on to the auxiliary verbs, the two types, primary auxiliary verb and modal auxiliary verb, right? So in the primary auxiliary verbs, we can divide that into be verbs, do verbs and have verbs, right? So these be verbs, we have present tense and past tense. Okay, what are the tense? Am, is, or denotes present tense, past tense, was and were. In the do verbs, present tense, do and does, past tense, did. And in have verbs, present tense, have and has, past tense, had. Are you clear? Now let us see about be verbs, right? Am, is, are, was and were. are used in either progressive form or passive form, right? Okay, let us see the example of progressive form. Lakshmi is teaching grammar. See, is. Next sentence, in passive form, how you get? Arul is selected for the finals, right? Okay, so be is used in commands also. Example, be careful, be clean and regular, right? So in the command we can use be. Now let us move on to have, has and had. These are used in the perfect tense, right? Let me tell you the examples. They have finished their work. One more example, he has completed his homework. Using had, she had visited Delhi. So you have got the idea about have, has and had usage in the perfect tense. Now let us move on to the do form. Do, does, did. For example, these do, does and did are used to show some emphasis. Example, let me tell you. I don't know the fact. He does know the answer. They did play well. So you got the usage of do, does and did, right? So now all these are used as a principal verbs also. You can see the example. He is a pop singer. Next one. Ravi has the influence. One more example. He did the preparations. Right? Are you clear? I think you are all clear about primary auxiliary verbs, right? Now let us move on to modal auxiliaries. So what are modal auxiliaries are there? Shall, should, will, would, can, could, may, might, must. These are called modal auxiliaries. So let me explain these all the things with some functions and their examples, right? First we will move on to shall. So what are the places we can use shall is about futurity. So I'll tell you the example. I shall meet my friend tomorrow. About the future plan, right? I shall. So next point is about intention. For example, you shall have a gift. Suggestion, shall we go for a walk? A threat or caution, you shall be enquired. So shall can be used in these all the ways, right? For futurity, for intention, suggestions, and also for threat or cautions you can use shall, right? Where you can use should. The past tense of shall you can use should. And which are the places, let me tell you. For the obligation, when you are respecting someone, you can use should. You should, for example, you should respect the elders. Okay. And for necessity also you can use, you should not write on the wall. This is necessity. Okay. So let me tell you about the difference between must and should. Okay. Should we have to, it is for, you have to do it, we can say. Must is a compulsory action, right? Okay, when I am explaining must, I will tell you again this one. Okay, now let us move on to the will. So will, all of you know that we are talking about the future tense, right? So the will we can use for the futurity. For example, he will pass the exam. And you can use will for request also. Will you lend me your pen? So when you are asking in a request manner, you can use will also. And for prediction, she will have visited her parents by now. We are predicting that. Okay, it may happen like that when we are predicting, no? So that time we can use will. And for promise, I will surely accompany you. When you are promising someone, you can mention will. Next, we will see the usage of would. Okay, where we should use would. First point, wish. Where we wish to do something, we can tell would. I wish you would tell me the truth. Next point, we can use in the place of request. Would you mind taking me along with you? So we can request some persons with the word would. The next one, preference. I would rather write than dictate. So you prefer than dictating, you would be able to write. So you can tell when there is a preference, you can mention would. In improbable condition. Okay, so we will be learning if class. So in that we have three conditions, probable condition and improbable conditions we will have. So in that we will be learning about imaginary case. If I were, using were if it comes, we can use would. Okay, so this is the example sentence. If I were rich, I would start an orphanage. Okay, so whatever the imaginary case come in the place of improbable condition, you can use would. The next one is habitual actions in the past. So you have some habitual actions, no? So what you will be doing about that, you can talk using would. They would swim in the river in the village. So this is their habitual action. So you can use the place of would. Instead of the past word, you can use this would. The next one we will see about can. So can you can use in the place of ability. What are the ability you have, right? So what you can do it, everything you can say in the place of can. I can speak French, or I can speak English, I can dance. These are all the things you can tell in the ability can. Next one, permission. When you wanted to ask some permission, you can say can. You can start now. Can you give me a pen? When you are asking the request, can you take me to the hospital? So these are the ways you can use can. For the possibilities, the stadium can be emptied in 4 minutes. The next one, let me tell about could. So where we can use could is to express at a past ability. What is that is? Example, he could pass the exam but he did not think so. Right? You can use could. And for permission, you could go now. So when you are telling to asking to the permission to the elders, they can say you could. And formal request. When you are asking a formal request to the principal or to the teacher, this is in the formal way. If you are wanted to ask something, you can use the word could. Could you please come on to the dais? Right? You can ask like this in a formal way. Possibility. The flying object could not be a bird. There is a possibility, you know. So there you can say could. Okay. So can and could difference. You should not talk to the elders using can. Can you give me a leave? You should not ask. Instead of that, what you should ask? In your formal request, you should ask, sir, could you give me a leave? Could you grant me a leave for my personal issue? Now let us move on to the next one. Usage of may. So may is very easy. First one we will see about permission. So may I come in? So when you are asking the permission to the teacher or to the elders, you can say may. And for possibilities, it may rain. Right? So when there is you are not sure of that possibilities you have. So what you will say? It may rain. And for wish, I may become your lawyer. So when you have the wish, what you will say? You can use may. Or when you wanted to wish somebody's for the birthday, may God bless you. So these are the wish you can say for may. And for the purpose, we do yoga so that we may be healthy. So you can use the may for the purpose, right? Okay. The next one, we'll move on to the might. Where we can use the might, possibility. So what possibility? She might be absent tomorrow. It is not sure, cannot confirm. So when there is a possibility, you can say she might be absent tomorrow. Right? For the reproach, you might have informed the police. That is the might have. And for suggestion, what suggestion you can use? You might learn first aid. So this is the suggestions you can give. So you can use a might. Clear? Okay. Next we will move to must. Must, where we can use for the necessity. Necessity means what are the necessity you have, you can use must. We must find out an alternative for petrol. So this is the necessity, right? So you can use must. And for the duty, what is the example is? You must be punctual. So when we are compelling and we are telling that, you should use must. Prohibition, you must not criticize. And for probability, the man who came must be a stranger. And for detection, it must be a planned robbery. Okay, so this is the modal verbs, right? Okay, so modal verbs, what is the difference between should and must is, should, when we wanted to tell something to do it, we can use should, and when we are compelling someone, you have to use must, right? Okay, this is the difference between should and must. What is the difference between can and could? Can be used with all the other persons, but could you have to use in the formal request. Okay, formal way for to the elders you have to use could. Okay, so this is about modal auxiliaries, right? Okay, let us move on to semi-modals, that is we call as a quasi-modal. Okay, what is semi-modal or quasi-modal? Ought to, used to, need and dare. These are semi-modals. Ought to and used to are always anomalous, while need and dare can be used as an auxiliaries, right? As well as the principal verbs are, right? Okay, so now let us see about ought to. Okay, ought to, where we can be used for the duty or for moral obligation. So ought to means the should, we have used the same meaning only for ought to, but when it comes in a semi-modal we have to tell this word ought to. Okay, for example, you ought to come in uniform tomorrow. What is the meaning for this? You ought to means you should come to school in uniform, the same meaning only, right? Okay, for another one purpose, necessity. What is that? We ought to whitewash the house this year. So the necessity, when we wanted to tell, we can use ought to in as a semi-modal. Then for advice, you ought to participate in group discussion to improve your communicative skill. And also for fitness, you ought to meet the doctor before trekking. Right? This is all the thing you can use for ought to. Next, we will move to used to, where we will be using past habit. Okay, for example, my grandmother used to tell me bedtime stories when I was young. And we are telling those days I was like this and now I am like this, you will be telling no. So in that place, past habits, you can tell used to. Next one, we will move to need. Okay, so need, where we will be using for the necessity. So what are the needs you have? You can tell I need this, I need that, like that, right? For example, we need good friends. Okay, and for obligation you can use he need not go in prison, for the usage of need. Okay, last we will move to the dare. Dare, where it is used mostly in the negatives and also questions, right? So for where dare can be used for the boldness. Example, I don't dare to touch the snake. Okay, for boldness you can tell I don't dare. Dare is the word. And for challenge, how dare you take my papers? Right? So for these all the things you can use dare. Hope you understood about these auxiliary verbs. Right? Okay, so go for many examples and understand very well, right? Thank you, students. Bye bye.